Hello, welcome to Am I Neurodivergent, my weird autism and ADHD year, and the highs and lows of getting a surprise adult diagnosis. Look, this week's a bit of a different video from me. I've had feedback to smile more and be funnier, but I definitely ain't going to be doing that this week. Chronology-wise, week 11, I was still waiting for my ADOS 2 results from the autism assessment that I talked about in chapter 9, just kind of hanging in limbo. So I want to kind of snap out of my journey recap for a minute into present day. I'm feeling hacked off this week. My stress and anxiety's been through the roof. Work's been really frustrating, and I'm just feeling angry and pissed off, trying to negotiate what's still a pretty new landscape for me. Look, when it comes to finding out you're neurodivergent after masking and camouflaging for years, it opens up a whole new chapter for you in terms of how you interact with and understand the world, but with a few amazing examples, obviously, particularly around mental health. The hard truth is that most neurotypical people in the general population just don't get it. At worst, they're hostile and suspicious and think you're just lazy and making excuses. At best, they kind of smile and nod sympathetically, but try and show willing as they might. They don't really know how to help us because they just don't understand what it is that's different about us to them, even when we try really hard to explain it. It just doesn't seem to land. We look the same as neurotypicals. We broadly seem to be the same as neurotypicals. There's an underlying just pull yourself together ableism that's just there all the time. There's been mainstream news articles over here in the UK over the last couple of weeks about the rise of neurodivergent self-diagnoses on social media, particularly ADHD, and how dangerous self-diagnosis is and how you need a trained NHS clinician to be sure. You simply can't diagnose yourself without one. It really hacked me off because it's ignorant and it just shows a fundamental bias against the neurodivergent community, particularly in terms of saying you can't be sure you've got the example it used was ADHD without a professional medical assessment. Yes, you 99% can be sure if you've researched and done multiple recognized self-tests and strongly identify with the community and the challenges and the workarounds. And the media articles that have been coming out do not reflect that self-knowledge and self-recognition. The healthcare and educational systems missed me as a neurodivergent kid and adult for 44 years, and thousands of others like me who are now coming to adult diagnoses. 1 in 7 people are neurodivergent. Most don't realise and just battle through feeling like crap about themselves, getting more and more exhausted by how much of an uphill struggle everything is. It took social media for me to work out what had been affecting me for years, and I don't think the backlash we're seeing in the UK reflects the point of view of thousands of adults who were missed by the system, who have now found themselves in later life exhausted through social media, whether that's TikTok or YouTube or Facebook or whatever. The unconscious bias of both the medical profession and the media against neurodivergent self-identification is staggering. It's like, we weren't able to spot you, why should you be able to? Person who knows themselves better than anyone else. Why is there this weird mainstream backlash against people knowing and understanding themselves better? It's bizarre. I messaged a friend of mine who works for the BBC. He's a really nice guy, by the way. I've known him for years. But I told him how much his company's article had upset me and asked if he could put me in touch with someone who I could contact to give an opposing, more balanced point of view, because the article had hacked me off. And his response was, "Ha!" exclamation mark. And he brushed it off as almost me making a joke and showing fake outrage, and didn't link me up with someone I could contact and just changed the subject. And I was like, ha! To outrage and anger about genuine help being minimised and dismissed as silly and self-indulgent. That's it. And I think it finally dawned on me that even neurotypical friends and allies are never going to truly change things for us, or even really help us. Not out of malice, but just because they don't get it. They don't get what the issue is, and they don't get what it is we need. The vast majority of them just don't have the bandwidth to understand what cognitive differences are and what they feel like and how we need society to change and be more accommodating. You wouldn't brush off someone with a physical disability, like a missing leg, being delighted to suddenly find out wheelchairs and access ramps exist and that there could be more of them. Actually, that's exactly what things were like a few decades ago, but things gradually changed, attitudes and accommodations. We as a community, have to get better at explaining patiently cognitive differences in a way that they understand. Because right now we broadly preach to each other, we preach to the choir, we give each other comfort and share frustrations. And yes, it 100% helps us, many of us for the first time in our lives, to actually feel seen. But giving affirmations and sharing relatable memes is only half the battle. It's not going to change things for the better in the wider world for neurodivergent people who quite frankly want and need the world to be different to enable us, young, old, white, black, disabled, able-bodied, gay, straight, every gender, to thrive and contribute as we should and as we want to. None of this, by the way, is to dismiss the fabulous neurodivergent online content and memes that make us all smile and feel a little bit less alone, by the way. They're 100% necessary and massively valued, hugely valued for bringing a little light into the darker days. All of that makes the world for us a little bit less sad and alone, but we need more. We need angry, articulate warriors who can somehow summon enough spoons to go into the lion's den and lobby and articulate what the problems and challenges are for people like us, what we want to see change and how we propose those changes happen. I desperately want to have enough energy and willpower to become part of this change, but it's so damn hard for us to exert agency over a nonsensical world that doesn't listen, and so many of us just end up retreating into what's comfortable and bearable rather than fighting for ourselves and for a better, different future. I've just this week had to leave my job because I exhausted myself trying to make people listen and got so stressed out and frustrated I became physically ill. When you can see clearly what's needed in a given situation and you say it and say it and say it and people don't listen, that's crushing. We need a fucking army of us to draw up the changes we want to see and then say it and say it and say it and say it until it happens. Otherwise, generations of us are going to exhaust ourselves through sheer frustration of saying it and saying it and saying it to a disinterested mass of sympathetic smiles and nice intentions but complete inaction. We need what we're saying over and over to become so familiar that things just start to gradually change through the sheer bloody force of pressure and repetition. There must be beginnings of this collective voice somewhere out there, but where is it? There's millions of us struggling in silence. I Google and I search and I see little pockets, but no real groundswell for real change, and I don't get it. Please message me. My email and Facebook links are in the description below, and reach out if you're involved with this kind of active neurodivergent advocacy. I've worked in and around British politics and government in various guises most of my adult life, and I know the sheer effort and doggedness it takes to build any sort of traction on an issue, let alone actually making any sort of practical change happen. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint, and we're starting out way after the elite runners have already set off. Can we change society to make it better for neurodivergent people? I'm talking recognised neurodivergent tick boxes on forms. I'm talking designated quiet areas of restaurants and bars. I'm talking default alternative job application processes that sidestep the torture panel grilling. I'm talking routine access to mental health and anxiety counselling, free at the point of access. I'm talking genuine development programs at schools and universities to help us excel in ways that work for us, not just about scrape by in ways that don't. Is all or any of this possible? I genuinely don't know, but I want to help try before my and others' legs give out from running so hard into one-way traffic. We are not good at reaching out and making contact with others to do things collectively, but we need to, and this is my radio call. Mayday. SOS. Out.